Шановні колеги, я думаю, що відіграє роль ще те, що ми викладаємо наше відео в Ютубі та на Фейсбуці, тому, можливо, хтось зараз на парах і, відповідно, планує подивитися пізніше наше сьогоднішнє заняття в рамках науково-педагогічного стажування. Тому дозвольте вас привітати на третій лекції в рамках науково-педагогічного стажування, яке організовується Куявським університетом у Влоцлавеку, Одеською національною музичною академією та громадською організацією музикознавців України у світовій культурі. Ми щиро раді вас вітати разом з Олександром Іванівною Самоленкою, проректором з науковою роботою Одеської музичної академії Нежданової, доктором мистецтвознавства, професором. Сьогодні у нас естафету приймає польська сторона, і сьогодні у нас спеціалізована цікава лекція від польських колег, яка присвячена шляхам становлення саме музичної освіти, її стратегії, виміри, концепції та розвиток. Сьогоднішнім основним доповідачем у нас буде Joanna Skiba, завідувач кафедри іноземних мов, керівник міжнародного офісу в Куявському університеті у Влоцлавеку, експерт в галузі освіти та електронного навчання для дорослих. За графіком ми працюємо приблизно 40-45 хвилин. З вашого дозволу запитаю у Олександри Іванівни, є у вас якесь бажання щось сказати, теж привітати колег, чи можна вже передавати слово Joanні Скибі? У вас не вимкнене.
Щиро дякую, Михайло Юрійович. Від вітання я ніколи не відмовляюся, звичайно. Мені дуже приємно бачити усіх моїх колег знову у цьому високому зібранні. Я так сподіваюся, що ці тижні, ці дні не прийдуть даремно для нас усіх, включаючи головних спікерів. І я сподіваюся, що сьогодні ми продовжимо бесіду на ті теми, які сьогодні є найбільш актуальними і для музикознавства, і для гуманітарного знання у цілому. Думаю, цього достатньо. Краще ми послухаємо госпожу Джоанну. Дякую.
Дякуємо. У нас вже 21. Думаю, що всі колеги, які були минулого разу, поступово приєднаються. Передаємо слово Джоанні. Joanna, please speak.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be able to see you again in our series of lectures. For today, it's a very special topic. It's about pathways in early music education. I'm going to talk about first the backgrounds of music education, why it is important, especially at the early ages when pupils start school. And of course, I'm going to give you quite a lot of examples. I think this is the most valued part to be able to compare. And I'm going to present the present situation in Poland, how early music education is organized and how it is promoted, because it's one of the topics, parts of the lecture. What kind of influence it has on young students, on children, and in general, why we need this cultural education. Of course, it's a question which doesn't need to be answered because we understand that, but there are some scientific aspects and there are some issues, some methods and educational results. And I would like to concentrate on those areas. If you have any questions at the end of the lecture, you can either send them to my colleagues or you can send them directly to me, and we will be trying to find answers. I think the situation we are in right now because of the pandemic also brings us closer together, and this is good for international relations as well, although it's not good for us mentally and it's not good for anybody, but it's bringing us closer so we can exchange information. So I see this lecture as a kind of exchange of experience and what the patterns that we follow. Music in general is a very important subject to all children because they learn and it can lead to better brain development. It can increase many human connections, and it can also relieve stress. So this is the base. There are various studies which have found that engagement with music can lead to the improvement in brain development. There are many American studies, and they found that there is better neural processing in pupils in children who started playing a musical instrument early, as with those compared to those students who simply listened to music and didn't play. The study shows also the importance of receiving music education rather than just simply turning on the background music. There are also some other studies which have shown that there is an increased IQ points in children who engage with music. When we compare those students who didn't take any music lessons, the musically engaged students had better results in tests, in scores, and any kind of standardized measurements of academic achievement. Music education is also a great way to enhance the reading comprehension abilities in children. So there are many studies conducted in Polish universities, and they found out that students who actively participated in music classes had better speech processing abilities, and along with higher the reading scores than children who were not involved. Reading is an important skill to all children, and it develops because it is needed for all subjects. It's a base, so I think it goes without any question. Music is also the perfect way to connect with other people. Music education, starting early, like early education, is very important because it may give children a way to connect with other people. Children naturally are very social, and it's important to help them and encourage them to build relationships which are based on experiences, like they can create a school band, or they can be encouraged to participate in a group singing like a chorus. And it will allow children to work together towards a final product, like, for example, a school concert, like a Christmas concert. This encourages creating bonds, and it provides students with something to remember for the future. And music also integrates many different subjects. There is another reason why early music education is so important. It integrates subjects such as I mentioned, reading, writing skills, also mathematical skills, scientific skills, historical skills. For example, the time signatures in music are the excellent way to put together fractions, lyric analysis, and songwriting, and this may allow students to work on the reading abilities. Having discussions about how instruments work will involve information on physics and physics of sounds, not only physics in general. In learning about music in society, it's also shining a light on important historical events. Besides, music teaches discipline. It may teach from the very, very beginning, from early stages, may teach children to develop time management skills and discipline. If students are expected to learn their instruments and practice outside school, they will develop the ability to create some practical schedule for every day. They will be able to balance every other activity they have in their lives. And learning discipline and time management are countless benefits for the child's future. A child may develop discipline for elementary school. They will be able to balance the workload they receive at school and how to do better at school and during the music classes. I think one of the other aspects is also relieving stress. This is going to be part of the lecture which we're going to have next Tuesday. It's going to be devoted to art and music as stress relievers, especially now. But this is a broad topic, even to, I should mention it today. It is significant for pupils who are overwhelmed by schoolwork, or sometimes the situation they have and face at home, which is not easy. It may improve to conquer the moods if they feel that they have extra work and it's like overwhelming them in a way. So it may help students who experience this school stress or everyday stress with the musical classes and with some different situations. It has so many benefits to pupils of many ages. But how is it organized in Poland? So this is specifically, this part of the lecture will be devoted to early music education and in Poland, and I'm going to talk about it. The system has been changing, as any educational system, you know, and you have a lot of experience in Ukraine as well. If there is a new government, the law changes. If there is a new minister, the law changes. And we face it every 4 or 5 years. But the base for the current state and situation has changed in 1989 when we introduced new economic and social context in Poland. And this has brought about new legislation. And on the basis of this legislation of 1989, we are forming the system now with some minor changes, but this is where the roots are of Polish education and also music education. So the implementation of strong and big reforms started at the end of the 90s. It also permitted a very big and important sector, the sector of private education. And I think it has had a lot of influence on musical education in general in Poland. Because 1989 has brought, as I said, this new sector and a big player on the educational market. We have seen new universities developing, private schools, private primary schools, and private kindergartens. So it started from the very bottom and went up the scale up to university level. So the reforms we faced brought about profound changes in the school structure and also the grading system. The teacher autonomy has increased. This is very important for Polish teachers, and I think we have forgotten about this, but the teachers have been given a lot of autonomy and ability to learn, educate in many different areas. So I think the educational legislation that has changed in the 90s has created a very good base for what we have now. Of course, now we are in the market situation. We are, I mean, the school owners act like business people. And if it's kindergarten, if it's any kind of primary school, it has become business. Not all of them, but I think in private sector, most of the education is seen as making profit, but I think it's everywhere. Well, how music is taught. Music is taught from the very, very beginning. So we have private courses for women who are expecting children. So they are prenatal situation. And and this is seen very exclusive, and this is seen very really expensive. But if you can afford it, if you live in a big city, you can have something like education starting before pupils are really born. You can also have education in kindergartens for young children. The kindergarten education in Poland starts at the age of 3 and continues for 3 years. And there are many special music classes there, but they are voluntary. Usually the children are not forced. They are given the choice if they want to attend it or not. So early education starts in kindergartens. And this is part of the system. If parents want their child to learn in a private music school, they can also do that. We have private primary schools and state music schools, which are at the primary level. So there are many different options right now from which parents can choose. And depending on the financial situation, depending on if you live in a big city or you live in a smaller town, the option is always there to choose for the parents to see what is on the market and of course what they can afford. If it's very exclusive, if the classes are organized in small groups, then it is going to be more expensive and it's going to be more elite in a way. If it's good or not, this is just another topic and it's another story to discuss. I think you have your own experience in Ukraine and you can compare it. I think the problem in Poland now is the variety. You have a lot of variety of music and possibilities of music education for children. And it's up to your imagination sometimes as a parent to choose what you want to do. Of course, it then, when the child becomes more expert with the instrument and playing, then a child can decide and can have any kind of voice with this. But usually when parents decide on that, then there is really a lot of options. I would like to concentrate on an example of Montessori. I think you've heard of that, the Dr. Maria Montessori, an Italian, who was a creator of special method. And this is very popular in Poland. It's popular usually for the early education, like kindergartens and primary schools. We even have one primary school in my city, and my city is quite small. But in Warsaw, in bigger cities in Poland, you can see Montessori kindergartens and primary schools everywhere. Montessori, as an expert, she spoke of cosmic education when she wanted to help the child to feel part of the wholeness of the universe, and learning will naturally be inviting for children. And there is no one best way to accomplish the goal, but there are many paths of learning, and this is very holistic. It's holistic education. It values the child, it puts the child in front as the most important. And in some contexts, it may be seen that it's the responsiveness of the child. So what the child wants is done during the classes and done during the day. So the classrooms are mixed for children of varying ages, and teachers encourage a lot of independence from the pupils. So it's like quite a lot of freedom is in kindergartens and schools. There are various activity stations that children can choose. They can choose what they want to play, if they want to do it or not. There is no grading system. There is the focus on the student as a whole, like a social, emotional, intellectual, and physical development of the child are stressed. As with any method, this is sometimes seen as only a marketing brand, like a school or a kindergarten is called Montessori. Whether you want to join it, usually it is expensive. So you can do that. Well, what are the positive aspects? There is a cascade of praise. The system inspires real passion in children and teachers. It encourages independence. It encourages independent learning. And there are many materials, many instruments for young learners to choose from. The children can discover the abstract ideas, and the Montessori environment also allows children to work, develop, and learn at the individual pace. I don't know, I'm not going to judge if it's okay for education, if it's just a system, but as I know from my friends and some family members who have children in Montessori, music kindergartens, they say it encourages a lot of playtime, individuality, and it's usually stress-free. The groups are small and children usually enjoy it. So this is one of the systems that we have in Poland, and I wanted to mention it because it's like looking at the educational market, it's quite a big part now. Montessori education is part of the art-based learning, so education based on art. We use some artistic skills, some processes, and they are treated as educational tools, and they help learning many non-artistic disciplines. So music becomes the ground for other skills, maybe some other topics to discover, or some social skills. So this is seen as art-based learning. It's also part of the phenomenon which we call music therapy. So music therapy becomes treated like the time off for good behavior. If the children are behaving well, they will be given time to learn music. I don't know if it's I'm not going to judge if it's a good idea pedagogically, because it's also another topic, but it's also the arrangement, how it is seen. As music is seen as therapy for children, it may be like prizing them for good behavior. It is sometimes used to destroy the monotony of the regular school day, and to go between something like arithmetics and reading. But I don't know, this music therapy will be our next topic for our next Tuesday, so I'm not going to go into much detail. There is a strong case for the benefits of early music education in the lifespan. The early childhood seems that it may be beneficial for the development of any perceptual skills, that they may have effect on language, impacting on literacy, which is also enhanced by opportunities to develop rhythmic coordination. Music may improve some spatial reasoning for children, one aspect of general intelligence which is related to some of the skills required in maths. And with the general attainment, it is clearly affected by literacy and numeracy skills, motivation, which depends on self-esteem, and aspirations, which is also important in the amount of effort given to studying, and positive learning experiences which are rewarding. This means that musical experiences need to be enjoyable, providing challenges which are also easy to be attained. Teaching needs to generate an environment which is supportive and sufficiently flexible to facilitate the development of creativity and self-expression. This is also part of cultural education. So when we talk about the aspect of early music education, we have to be aware of the cultural education. Why do we need that and why do we use it? We need to develop individual strengths and gifts of pupils, and we have to concentrate on high expectations of each child and parent. I think even it is important for Polish parents right now that they see and they plan the educational path for the child from the moment when the child is born, and they project this path. So it is very important for parents in Poland right now. We have to work on individual goals when we prepare, when we participate in life of the classrooms with other children. When we also need to involve with parents in their education and we develop friendships, we positively affect also school and community. As I was mentioning, a situation in Poland, as I gave you the example of the Montessori education and kindergartens involving a lot of early music education in Poland. There are many ways to promote it. And as I said, there are the audience and the market for this education in Poland is really big. It is mainly promoted on social media because it's the best system we use now. It is marketed in many forms like on Facebook and Instagram, which is quite obvious, and it's worldwide. I think with the moment we are in right now with the pandemic, when we all students are stuck at home, and in Poland right now, only kindergartens are open. I don't know the situation in Ukraine, but in Poland, only children between 3 and 6 attend any form of education, and the rest of education is placed online. But I think many of the music lessons also take place online right now, like on Zoom or on the Teams platform, because it's the only system for to participate. I know it may be difficult for young children, but from what I hear and see, some parts of early education is also happening in private sector. So some private lessons do take place right now. It's not only online, but this is the more expensive aspect of education, and it's the system that not everyone can afford. But the rest of the education is put online. As I have 2 daughters, one is a student and the younger one is 12. She attends a primary school. Well, it is very difficult to have online music classes with this system. And I know that she only reads about some theory, sings something, but I think that the time we are in right now is very difficult for music education. It's like with sports. I cannot imagine having sports classes online, but they do happen. So some of the online education of music now is like had to stop and had to be transformed into some other areas. As I said, only online. But I'm talking about the situation in general, hoping that in a couple of months we'll get back to our regular system, and this will be the times that we will just forget about, like something which we were not really enjoying so much. But anyway, talking about cultural education and early music education, we have to remember about the reasons why we need this kind of education there, because we have this cultural heritage. And there is the influence of the quality of culture on our lives. We cannot forget about it. So we have to start early in the lives of our young ones. Culture gives us the pride. It promotes any kind of social cohesion, any social codes. It's also very attractive for feeling local and in our national lives. It provides opportunities for recreation, especially for families, and it's also attractive from the point of view of tourists, and it's also the benefit of any active engagement in our lifespan, and it may also be it is also very important for our development and also for our language abilities. There are so many benefits of early music education. So I may ask this question, why should we start music education early? This is an open question for us to think about, but we may also want to focus on this aspect. Why is it so important? There are so many benefits because it may help children to grow. It is helping children to acquire many social skills, many emotional, self-regulating abilities, cognitive benefits, physical benefits. Children have the opportunity to learn to take turns, to interact, also to be more recognized in a social group. It also helps children to go through smoothly throughout the daily activities. If they have a day full of classes and then they have a day of music, they have a day of family duties, then it may also help them with transitioning through routine smoothly. Extending children's vocabulary is also another aspect. They may learn cultural music, cultural language, and the language of music. It may help them integrate with some other settings, which is not easy, especially nowadays. Well, the positive aspects, I have discussed them at the beginning. I also would like to briefly summarize the approaches that we have. What are the approaches in teaching early music education? One approach is called the Orff Schulwerk, or it's called the Orff approach, which is a developmental approach in music education, which combines music, movement, drama, and speech together. So this is very similar to the development of a child in any regular education system. The Kodali method, which is another method we have in Poland, the Kodali method uses a child developmental approach to sequence, introducing skills according to the capabilities of the child. So this is responding to a child. And another method is called Émilie Jacques Dalcroze, who was a Swiss composer and musician and educator. And there was, from her, we have the approach of learning and experiencing music through movement. So this is joining the movement and educational education. To sum up, I would like to underline the most important areas of importance in early music education. First of all, musical training develops the areas of the brain which are involved in language and reasoning. There is a link between music and spatial intelligence. Music students can visualize elements that go together. And in the critical thinking, it's also necessary for everything from solving advanced mathematical problems to being able to pack a book bag. The students of arts learn to think creatively and they solve problems by imagining various solutions. And studies show that students who study music are more successful on standardized tests at schools. Studying music provides children with an internal glimpse of other cultures and it teaches empathy. The students of music learn craftsmanship. They study how details are put together and what constitutes the good work, what are the standards. Music study enhances teamwork skills and discipline. It also helps with self-expression and it develops skills necessary in the workplace. It focuses on doing. Music performance teaches how to conquer fear and how to take risks. These are all very important aspects, and I think we should encourage, as teachers, we should encourage this early music education to become fact. My two children started playing musical instruments early, and although they are not professionals, but they did enjoy that and they play from time to time even now. And I think the most important aspects for them as a mother, I can say, it was that they learned to conquer stress. They learned how to manage the days better and how to learn better. And I think that these were the most important results for them. And also it's language and reasoning. I think as a language teacher myself, I can also say that music has quite a lot of areas to stress and to improve for the young ones. So this is the situation, and this is the brief summary of the general developments of the situation in Poland. As I said, the most important is it has changed a lot. It has become very marketable as in any sector of education now, but it is very important to start music education early. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Шановні колеги, будь ласка. Можливо, хтось, якщо комусь важко в усній формі, можливо, письмово в чат поставить питання. Відразу відчувається різниця, коли у нас англійська мова. В минулу п'ятницю у нас була лекція Олександра Іванівна на українській мові, і більше камер було вимкнуто, і більше питань було. Відчувається, звичайно, різниця. Щиро ми дякуємо пані Джоанні за цікаву лекцію, за ваш рівень англійської мови, за вашу підготовку. Надзвичайно приємно, що ви ділитесь досвідом з шановними колегами, і ми рівняємось на вас і сподіваємося, що найближчим часом наші шановні вчені будуть активно приймати участь у подібних заходах і ставити питання на англійській мові. Бачу, вимкнула мікрофон Олександра Іванівна. Ви теж хочете щось сказати, будь ласка?
Хочу подякувати. Thank you very much, dear Joanna, for very interesting and important report. Звичайно, це майже єдине, що я можу поки що сказати англійською, тому що музикознавці в основному вчили німецьку мову, і англійську ми оволодіваємо зараз, так би мовити, самотужки, але я так впевнена, що багато хто з присутніх може висловитися англійською. Тут відчувається ще різниця можлива саме у топіку, тобто у темах, тому що це early music education, aesthetic education, це для нас, так би мовити, додаткова вхідна така педагогічна тема, у якій ми не зовсім орієнтуємося, чесно кажучи. Можливо, хтось мене поправить, хтось цим займається, але ми займаємося вже, скажімо так, high education, тобто вищою музичною освітою, і саме Musicology Education. Тому для нас це якась нова сторона досвіду, але дуже важливо, тому що дійсно оці експериментальні системи, що залучають дітей до музичної творчості, так мовити, з збереженням їх власної свободи, тобто так, що вони зацікавлювалися цим зсередини, вона надзвичайно важлива, вона існує як в Польщі, так і в Україні. Я відчула, так, наскільки я зрозуміла, багато спільного між польською та українською системою освіти на цьому начальному рівні. І система Монтессорі, вона також застосовувалась і застосовується в Україні. Не можу сказати, що дуже вдало, чесно кажучи. Мені здалося, що польський досвід є більш успішним. А можливо і тому, що вона не є достатньо розповсюдженою, не знаю. Я так розумію, що і система Далькроза, і система Монтессорі, вони, так би мовити, вимагають певного соціального середовища, відповідних соціальних умов. В Україні це не завжди робиться, не завжди відповідають якісь певні освітні закономірності запровадженню таких нових експериментальних систем, хоча вони вже, чесно кажучи, і зовсім не нові. Але що я відчула, і за що я особливо вдячна госпожі Джоанні, це те, що начальна музична підготовка, начальна музична освіта, вона сприймається як необхідний щабель взагалі формування нормальної людської свідомості, естетичної свідомості. І, звичайно, було б цікаво почути, дізнатися про те, як функціонує система естетичної, загальноестетичної освіти в Польщі. Хоча це трошки виходить за межі нашої тематики, тобто what is the relationship, the connection between teaching music education in its various forms and aesthetic education formation in Poland. Якщо щось з того, що я сказала, Джоанна здатна була зрозуміти. Music education and aesthetic education, which is connection, relationship between teaching music and aesthetic education.
Дякуємо, Олександра Іванівна. Є, шановні колеги, хто хоче щось ще висловити, якісь свої думки, точку зору? Я бачу, немає. Олександра Іванівна на першому нашому лекційному занятті анонсувала, і я думаю, ще раз це треба зробити, бо на сьогодні більше, ніж на першому лекційному занятті. Наступну п'ятницю нас очікує надзвичайно цікава лекція, і запрошуємо всіх колег разом з Олександрою Іванівною обов'язково приєднатися в п'ятницю. Буде дуже цікаво. Я думаю, на сайті центру ви можете подивитися відповідно тематику та відомого доповідача, який буде працювати з нами наступну п'ятницю, і так само легко запам'ятати 15:00. Якщо більше ні у кого немає запитань, ми з Олександрою Іванівною щиро вдячні всім шановним колегам. Щиро дякуємо Joanna Skiba. Joanna Skiba, thank you very much. It was very interesting for us. Bye-bye.
І наступну п'ятницю чекаємо Марину Романівну Черкашину-Губаренко, любі друзі. Занурюємося до світу опери.
Дякуємо. До побачення.
До побачення, до зустрічі. На все добре.